On July 2, 2014, we from the auction house Künker in Osnabrück will be auctioning off the Masuren Collection, an important collection of coins from the Kingdom of Prussia, in our auction 250. We have selected several fascinating pieces from this auction and invite you to get to know the numismatic history of the Prussian kings with us. On January 18, 1701, Elector Frederick III, Margrave of Brandenburg and Duke of Prussia, crowned himself king. To get around the rules of the Holy Roman Empire, he used a clever trick. He did not proclaim himself King of Brandenburg, although that was the more important one of his territories. He did not do that because Brandenburg was under the sovereignty of the Holy Roman Empire. Instead, he elevated himself to King of Prussia, a territory which reached beyond the borders of the Holy Roman Empire and partly belonged to the Kingdom of Poland. Now, Frederick III proudly called himself King Frederick I. On this ducat, minted in the year of his coronation, his title is Fredericus Primus Dei Gratia Rex Borussiae, that is, Frederick I, King of Prussia, by the grace of God. The reverse is likewise entirely dedicated to the coronation. The monogram FR, Fredericus Rex, King Frederick, is arranged in a number of variations around the coat of arms. We also see the 4 royal crowns, reminder of Frederick's new status. The coronation does not represent any major changes in the history of Prussian coinage. Ducats remained the currency for long-distance trade, and the thaler retained its primarily representative function. Change can only be observed in the images. The Order of the Black Eagle, founded by the king on the eve of his coronation, is often depicted on ducats, thalers, even on fractions. The related motto, suum cuique, to each his own, could refer to both, to the new member of the order or the newly crowned king. Although the coin motifs under Frederick I weren't too diverse in general, there are a few interesting exceptions. For instance, the thalers that were minted from the silver from Rothenburg in Saxony-Anhalt. Their reverse shows the Prussian eagle and 3 smelting works below. Frederick I died on February 25, 1713. The inheritance he left his successor was a bankrupt state. 20 million thalers was the debt he left Frederick William I, better known as the Soldier King. No wonder the latter became famous for his thriftiness. So Frederick William issued fewer coins than any other Prussian king before or after him. That concerned especially the thalers meant for representation, which were very expensive in their production. Of ducats, on the other hand, there were plenty. Despite the state of fiscal emergency, the king enjoyed giving them away as a royal tip. Remarkable about this ducat from 1713 is the depiction on the reverse. It shows an eagle flying towards the sun and staring at it unblinkingly. This was regarded as a sign of blue blood, genuine aristocracy, and true kings. Like the eagle, he was able to look into the sun directly. The king's personal motto, Nec sole cedit, not even to the sun he yields, alludes to this as well. The heavy gold coins, issued since 1737 as 5 and 10 thalers, resulted from a personal initiative of the king. They were named after their creator, Friedrich Dor. On May 31, 1740, a new monarch climbed the Prussian throne. Frederick II wanted to be a better king than his father, and he showed it on his coins. Veritate et Justitiae, to truth and justice. Felicitas populi, the happiness of the people. But the ideal of the philosopher king was soon forgotten, and Prussia turned into a battlefield. First in the fight for Silesia, then during the 7 Years' War, the first war on a global scale caused by Frederick's ambition. It almost meant the end of his famous coinage reform. Since the conquest of Silesia, this reform had become a desideratum of high priority. Frederick had called the Brunswick fiscal policymaker Johann Philipp Graumann to the position of Geheimer Finanz- und Domänenrat, something similar to the modern Minister of Finance and General Mint Master. Graumann developed a new coinage system that was first realized in 1750. The unit it was based on is called Graumannscher Fuß, after its inventor. It stated that a thaler had to contain 1/14 of a Cologne mark of silver. In theory, then, 1 thaler contained 16.7 grams fine silver. The high standards set by this reform are reflected in the name of the new denomination. Frederick called it Reichsthaler. Simultaneously with the reform, the official mints were assigned initials: A for Berlin, B for Wroclaw, C for Cleves, D for Aurich, E for Königsberg, F for Magdeburg, and G for Stettin. The assigned letters did not refer to the mint's names, but to the chronological order of their reorganization. This promising coinage reform was put at risk when Frederick financed his 7 Years' War by drastically reducing the silver content of his coins. He benefited from the occupation of Saxony in 1756. It meant that he had access to the Saxon mints and their coin dies, which enabled him to use the old dies to mint debased silver so that the new coins looked just like the old ones, but only possessed a fragment of the old, material value. Responsible for this truly royal trickery was Nathan Vital Heine Ephraim, who became the object of the population's scorn. All show and no substance, they said. Frederick on the outside and Ephraim on the inside. And by Frederick they didn't mean the Prussian king, but Frederick August II, King of Poland and Elector of Saxony, whose face decorated the coin's obverse. The war made Ephraim rich enough to afford a luxurious palace, and Frederick had succeeded in financing his war and keeping Silesia. Only the people lost out on this war. They had to change their bad coins back against good money after the war, and that cost them up to 60% of their savings. Let's turn from the bellicose Frederick to the coinage of his successor, Frederick William II. He was Frederick's nephew, and only his uncle's childlessness made him ruler of Prussia. Anyway, he had better things to do than reform a well-functioning coinage system. After all, the French Revolution took place during his reign. Still, Prussia could score territorial gains, even if only for a short time. In 1791, the childless Christian Frederick sold his principalities Bayreuth and Ansbach to Frederick William, who had coins minted specifically for these new countries. The letter S designates the mint in what today is Schwabach, in Franconia. In numismatic terms, nothing really changed under Frederick William III, only the portrait did. After the many defeats by the troops of the French Revolution, the military uniform did not seem an appropriate choice anymore. It was replaced by the civil apparel of the citizen. It wasn't until the beginning of the German campaign that the king showed himself in uniform on his coins again. In the Battle of Waterloo, the Seventh Coalition defeated revolutionary France. But in the fight against the great nation, a new sense of national identity that wanted to transcend the Kleinstaaterei had been growing in Germany. The first area of cooperation became the economic sector. On July 30, 1838, the Dresden Coinage Convention was signed. It established a union of the member states of the Zollverein and Prussia, which coordinated and fixed the regulations concerning the simultaneous use of different denominations. All institutions officially allowed to issue coins agreed to use the fine silver mark with 233.855 grams as basis for their coinage. Prussia used a conversion rate into 14 thalers, so 1 fine silver mark equaled 7 double thalers. And 1 double thaler was the equivalent of 3.5 gulden, the denomination struck in southern Germany. Just a few years later, in 1840, Frederick William IV ascended to the Prussian throne. He had the chance to unite Germany during his reign, but only his brother, William I, took it. On January 18, 1871, King William I of Prussia was proclaimed German Emperor in the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, and that was the end of the Kingdom of Prussia. Or, as William himself put it on the eve of his coronation, "Tomorrow is the saddest day of my life. Tomorrow we're going to bury the Prussian monarchy." We from Künker are proud to present one of the most impressive collections of Prussian coins with the Masuren Collection. We welcome you to join our auction 250 on July 2nd, 2014. Should you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch.